Tonight, we take one small step for man, one giant leap for podcast kind as we rocket into the furthest reaches of the cosmos where intergalactic law meets interstellar justice, and somebody is about to learn that space is a very big place. To get punched! Welcome back to another matchup from Who Would Win Masters. I am Sam Proof on all of the socials, and in this episode, representing DC Comics, the Green Lantern who constantly sees red, the walking bowl cut, it's Guy Gardner. And representing Marvel Comics, the Human Rocket whose birth name is not for our family-friendly audience. Trust me, that is a funny joke and you'll understand it when you're older. It's Nova! Our guest this week is podcaster, writer, comic book expert, host of the Joe on Joe podcast, joining us from a Trader Joe's, eating JoJo's, drinking some Joe. It's Joe Slepsky. Joe, welcome. How you doing tonight? You're representing your colors?
I'm doing great, Sam. Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely. I am representing Green Lantern in a Green Lantern t-shirt. And do you want to know why?
Yes.
Because they've never made a Nova t-shirt. That's why, Sam.
Oh, ow, sick burn. Of all the lanterns out there, why this one?
Specifically, he's the best. He was my first Lantern. Personally, he was my first Lantern. I discovered him with the early Justice League stuff and fell in love with the way his personality was delivered in those, the Giffen de Mateus, Kevin McGuire stuff. So I loved it right away. He was just a nut job. And so I became enamored with him immediately, everything about him. So that's why.
All right. Well, cool. Well, on that note, it is time for tonight's Tale of the Tape, and then we will introduce your opponent. Tonight's Tale of the Tape is brought to you by paper clips. Sure, you hardly use a single sheet of paper these days, and much less enough that you'd need a metal clip to hold them all together. Heck, most of you youngster millennials probably only know about paper clips because of that Clippy mascot that Microsoft tried to force on everyone. But in the digital age, when you need something small and pointy to reset your Tamagotchi, who's there for you? Paper clips. That's who. So go buy a box for like $1.29, and you'll have enough for the rest of your life because you're just going to need that one until you lose it. Then you'll need the other one. Paper clips. They still have a purpose. Come on. All right. This week, we have a matchup of two intergalactic cops from rival publishers. First, we have the Green Lantern, Guy Gardner. In the 1980s, DC Comics asked themselves, why not many Green Lanterns? At that time, John Stewart was the official Lantern, but Steve Englehart and Joe Stanton brought back Hal Jordan and revamped the Guy Gardner character into the goofy macho blowhard that we all know and love today. Officially, Gardner was created by Joe Broome and Gil Kane and first appeared in Green Lantern 59 in 1968. But that character was nothing like the obnoxious bowl cut bruiser that Nathan Fillion played in last year's Superman movie. Thank you. Yes, that is correct. That's my cat. The other space cop is Nova of the Nova Corps. Richard Rider has had a few different origin stories, but what matters is that he and his suit embody the Nova Force, giving him superpowers on top of the normally expected superpowers. When threats pop up around the universe, Nova will often be there to lend a hand. Nova first appeared as Nova in The Man Called Nova #1 in 1976 and was created by Marv Wolfman and John Romita Sr. With our characters in place, it's time to bring out the biggest character of them all. Some call him Almighty. I call him Ray. It's Ray Stacanis. Ray, are you excited about these two new characters getting repped on the show?
I am thrilled to have two brand new characters. There's one thing I'm always asking when we make these Who Would Win Masters shows is how could we do something that we've never done before? Now, I know we are retreading a few older matchups. Heck, we just did it, I believe, last week. Don't worry about that, all right? What I'm trying to say right here is that I want to bring new blood, new characters, new vibes, and I don't believe in any iteration, at least that I've been involved with, have we done Nova or Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern. We've done the Green Lantern before a couple of different times. John Stewart, I believe, has done it. Hal Jordan's done it, but I don't think Guy Gardner's gotten his turn in this rotation. So I love it. Look, I've never appreciated the Guy Gardner character. I didn't read comics back when he was like at his height of his powers and biggest things back in, say, like the 80s and 90s and whatnot. But the new Green Lantern movie is when the first time, the Superman movie last year was the first time I sat back and said, I get why people love this guy. He was just some weirdo, annoying guy with a bad haircut to me before. Now I get why there's like a thing there, right? And Nova, I have to be honest, is a character that was suggested for this battle. Doesn't it make a ton of sense when you break it down? But I didn't know a whole lot about Nova until I started to research him here. I was aware that he was a character and what he looked like and that he was around. I think I have some hero clicks of Nova around here somewhere, but I couldn't have told you much about him. And now I can tell you a lot about him because that's how this show works.
Great. I also like that. I think this is the first Marvel versus DC we've done in a long time, which is
overdue.
Kind of a nice back to basics thing for us.
That'll get your algorithms up.
Yeah,
that'll get the kids talking. Everyone loves to do a Marvel DC thing.
Yeah. Right. All right. And with that, let's get into our rules in under a minute. If Ray can find the button.
Here are your rules for Who Would Win Masters in 1 minute. Number 1, there will be 3 timed rounds with counterpoints allowed. Number 2, characters will have no prior knowledge of their opponent and no outside interference will be allowed. Number 3, keep the characters in character. Outliers and crossovers will be given less weight. Number 4, battles can be won by death, knockout, battlefield removal, or incapacitation. And number 5, after the battle, I will give my unofficial opinion as to who wins and why. However, I am just one voice. It will be up to all of you on our social media and our Patreon to make your voices heard as to who won.
I still think we could turn those rules into a song. I really do. I think that I love your WWE style, promo rules that you do, Sam Proof. And we've been playing them for quite a while now, but I'm starting to think as much as people love the Sam's Decision song, as much as people love the email song, maybe we go trifecta and turn it into the rules of Who Would Win Masters song, as long as we keep it under a minute.
Sure. I'm fine with that. Go crazy.
Okay, we might be contacting some people and setting some things up.
All right. We'll do it. And on that note, it is time to get started. Joe, you will start us off as our guest. You'll have 3 minutes on the clock for your point number 1, followed by Ray, and then you'll get a counterpoint. So 3 minutes on the clock, starting now.
Thank you for having me on the show. First of all, let me spend 10 seconds to say I'm honored and humbled to be allowed to carry the mantle, to be the first to carry the mantle of the greatest Green Lantern of all time, Guy Gardner, into the Masters arena, by the way. Guy Gardner, definitely a lantern that does not get his due. In case you don't know, he was the sliding door to Hal Jordan. He was as fit a candidate for being Green Lantern as Hal Jordan. The only reason Hal was chosen above Guy Gardner was because Abin Sur crashed his rocket in California. Had he crashed it closer to Baltimore, Maryland, we would have been enjoying the antics of Guy Gardner from the very first adventure. That is true. That is a part of continuity. Hal Jordan was chosen both because he was worthy, but because he was closer to a crash site. Let's be real. Guy Gardner, born in Baltimore, Maryland, to a alcoholic, abusive father. He fought through his abusive life to become a better man. He was a teacher to handicapped children, special needs kids Guy Gardner was helping out when the Green Lantern would have entered his life, and it didn't. So years later, when he actually entered continuity, we got to meet him, and Hal kind of gave us a view of what life would have been like had Guy been chosen. And it was a bit of an imaginary what if by John Broome and Gil Kane, but we saw a slice of the greatness that was Guy, and he was so great that the comic lords had to put him into a coma for the next 20 years. He had to spend 20 years in a coma because they couldn't figure out if this dude was just as worthy as Hal Jordan. Why can't we give him a ring? That's how amazing Guy Gardner was. The rings are infallible. There have only been 2 fallen lanterns that we know of. It's Sinestro and Hal Jordan. And that's it. And both of those guys were influenced by Parallax, which is this giant massive entity, like godlike entity that corrupted them. So the ring choosing Guy Gardner as valid is as proof positive that Guy's worthwhile to be a Green Lantern as possible.
30 seconds remaining.
Thank you, 30. He was a Red Lantern. And if you know anything about the Red Lanterns are full of rage, full of hate, full of fury, and they tend the energy becomes your blood, and it tends to overpower your rational thought. Well, guess who fought his way through that? Guy Gardner fought his way through that. He's been an honor guard of the Owen Green Lantern Corps. So in other words, he's one of 2 or at times 4 people that the Guardians of the Universe consider to be their chief caretakers of the Green Lantern Corps. So with that, Guy Gardner, greatest Green Lantern of all time. Thank you.
All right. Wait for that tone to go. And Ray, 3 minutes on the clock for Nova, starting now.
I'm super excited for the history lesson, Mr. Joe Slepsky, but this show isn't about who would be the most worthy to carry a Green Lantern ring, Masters. This is who would win, Masters. So I advise you to step up your game in your next 2 points if you're going to have any shot at all to get even off the mat the first time. Richard Rider, Nova. He has the Nova Force, and he has a suit. And we're going to talk about his basic power set right here, because he has a very powerful Nova suit. This man could fly, and he could fly very, very fast. The suit also makes him bulletproof. Construct proof, maybe constructs could end up being a little bit more powerful than bullets, but guess what? Nova's more powerful than bullets, so I'm not even worried about it, because the suit not only can fly and fly fast, be bulletproof, but it also has a built-in healing factor and can repair itself as it goes along. In fact, this is a guy, durability-wise, who withstood full offense from Silver Surfer, and he didn't want to fight Silver Surfer back. He's like, I just want to talk, and Surfer's like, nah, and Surfer's just beating on him, and he was able to withstand all that attack, cosmic-level hits. This man, Nova, had a full building collapse on top of him. Got up, not a problem. But he can also not just be durable, he has energy blasts. I've seen Green Lantern do crazy things with his constructs and create this, that, the other thing. Bunch of middle fingers in the movie. What was that about? I laughed. But he can shoot energy blasts, Nova can. And his basic concept of a blast crumples the human body. Just absolutely just drops it. In fact, he dropped about a dozen Kree sentries with his own blasts. And Kree sentries are kind of superhuman all in their own regard. Heck, this is a guy who one-shotted Darkhawk back in a comic in the 90s with an energy blast. And if you did that to Darkhawk in the dark time of 90s comics, you are really something, sir. I'm going to say that. But he's also a speedster in his own way. He can move with super speed, not just flying fast, but he can move around really fast as well. And he can also dodge both bullets and lasers at very, very close distance. Couple other things that he likes to do. Gravity manipulation. Guy Gardner's great, but is it going to really kind of piss him off a little bit when he's upside down because he can't right himself anymore? He can manipulate gravity, and he can do a force push. That's what it means. If you can manipulate gravity, you can do Kylo Ren force push stuff, and that is, in my words, awesome. There is one big difference between these two characters, and I challenge Joe to say I'm wrong. Green Lantern baseline does not have superhuman capabilities. It's just the ring. But Nova does, because as the promo said, the Nova Force encapsulates not just the suit, but the man as well.
All right, Joe, you get 1 minute for your counterpoint for the first point. 60 seconds on the clock, starting now.
Ray, you fell into my trap. Guy Gardner has proven himself to be a better man than Richard Rider, and that's the whole point of it. The infallible Green Lantern Corps chose him to be their warrior. Richard Rider specifically and literally got his powers by chance and has been digging his way emotionally out of that gutter since the day he was born. Guy Gardner can do every single thing you mentioned with those force pushes with his ring. It's only held back by his imagination. And he can speak to it telepathically or, emotionally, however the rings work, connect in that regard. So yes, he uses a ring, but without the world mind, Richard Rider has no powers either.
All right, interesting start with I think the most important thing was the very last thing said, and we're gonna have to see how that plays out in our point number 2, and we'll find that out after this break. And we're back. Joe, you'll start us off. 3 minutes on the clock for point number 2, starting now.
We were talking about weapons. We're talking about rings, right? Green Lanterns use rings, and the Nova Corps absolutely uses a suit, right? They get a helmet, gives them a suit of powers. Much like the Green Lantern Corps, the Nova Corps distribute those helmets to people throughout the galaxy, and they fight crime. Very similar to Green Lantern Corps. That's why I think this is a great matchup. So Guy Gardner uses the ring. It runs on willpower, right? Willpower being intrinsic to someone who will not quit, right? So what happens when Guy loses his ring? He once made a bet with Hal Jordan. He says, if you beat me in a fight, I'll stop being the one thing he treasured most in the world, being Green Lantern. He was a good man to his word, and he quit being Green Lantern. He gave his ring to Hal because he lost the fight to Hal. And what did Guy do? He became a Punisher-like urban vigilante. It lasted like an issue, didn't work out well. But he eventually gets his hands on Sinestro's Quardian yellow power ring. It technically wasn't called a fear ring at that point, but the fear ring. And he found a way to give himself powers yet again, because he knew he needed to be a superhero. So he got a hold of the Quardian ring and became, if you've ever seen it, it's the black leather jacket with the yellow G on it. That's the iteration of Guy when he used Sinestro's ring. And then that eventually, for comic book reasons, they needed to get rid of that ring for him. So all of a sudden, oh my God, he's got no powers again. Guess what? Turns out he's half alien. He's Voldarian, and he becomes the Warrior. And the Warrior has, as a race, they're like they make any weapon that they need out of their bodies, like a chitinous exoskeleton. If you've seen how they treat the current Blue Beetle, like where he forms guns and stuff and swords out of his hands, that's essentially what they did with the Voldarians like 15 years before they created that version of Blue Beetle. So he becomes Warrior because he can't be a Green Lantern for publishing reasons, and he can't be Sinestro. He can't use Sinestro's ring for publishing reasons. So now you've got the Voldarian Warrior race, which are considered the greatest fighters in all the galaxy. So he's half Voldarian. He's used the red ring. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Later on, he gets a red ring during the Green Lantern Sinestro War. He becomes a Red Lantern for a while. So he knows how to master multiple colors of rings, and he's a Voldarian, and he's become an urban
30
vigilante.
seconds remaining.
All of this to pursue justice. That's someone who doesn't rely on his weapon, who finds weapons to become a true hero. Thank you. I'm done.
All right, Ray, 3 minutes on the clock for Nova, starting now.
You brought up the world mind, and boy, it's like you read my world mind, because that's exactly what I want to talk about here. Now, think about the world mind. I'll tell you what it is in a second, but envision it walking in the door like what Cortana is to Master Chief, right? It's a being of sorts that is like almost an AI, and it's inside his sort of a helmet, kind of giving him advice, telling him what to do in scanning areas and helping him out. That's basically what the world mind is. It's a living database. But the weird thing about this living database is it contains like real minds, real people, like they all get like put into the machine, like I'm sure some rich tech guy is going to try to do to all of us someday. And it's going to have the memories and personalities and everything of all of the dead Xandarians and all of the past Nova Corps members that came before. It can act as essentially like a full government, a voting body for all these people, as well as a historian, because it knows every Rashomon thing that's happened to everything in this race's like creation, basically. The big important thing of why this is important, though, is that it assigns out the Nova Force. It decides how much Nova Force each individual Nova Corps member is allowed to get. And the more Nova Force you have, the more powerful you become. So we can not only do that, but it can also like hack an entire planet's worth of an alien databases immediately. That's an example of something it can do. So while there is no prior knowledge between these two characters coming in, as we well established, I have to believe if they're anywhere with any knowledge of Green Lantern whatsoever, the world mind can just go ahead and figure out all of the strengths and weaknesses using whatever databases are nearby and memories and what have you to find out how to beat Guy Gardner right out the bat. The Nova Force itself, which obviously Richard Rider's part of, it's a vast, near limitless reservoir of cosmic energy generated and regulated by this entity. It also not only gives him his powers and gives him more power potentially when he needs it. For example, we'll talk about that later. It acts like Bruce Wayne did in Batman Beyond, telling him like, hey, try this. Don't forget about this. This thing's over here. He looks like he's about to blast you. So he's got like a sixth sense sort of built in to his suit, which is going to guide him through every single one of these battles, every single encounter, everything at all. And I've poo-pooed the idea of Bruce Wayne being viable in a Batman Beyond debate before. I know someone's thinking about that right now, but that's because he's a separate person. This is sort of an AI hive mind. To me, it's Cortana's allowed with Master Chief. I don't think Bruce. The point I'm trying to make is it can also open vast wormholes in space, ladies and gentlemen. If he ever got Battlefield removed, he could wormhole his way right back. I've seen him use these wormholes to pop out and drill somebody in a very crucial place. The last thing I'll leave you with is, at the end of the day, the Green Lantern ring can run out of a charge, but the Nova Force can never run out of power.
Strong words. All right, Joe, 1 minute for your counterpoint, starting now.
Strong words, weak argument. You just said basically he needs help of Alexa. He needs Alexa's help to do his job. Guess who doesn't need Alexa's help to do his job? Guy Gardner. And guess what? The Power Ring only has a 24-hour charge limitation because the Guardians were smart enough to not build a without any impurities, without limitations, because they know that unchecked power can go poorly. As long as his power ring is charged, he has as much energy as his own personal willpower can stand, which we've established is much greater than Richard Rider's willpower. And yes, the Xandarian world mind may check a database to see what the Green Lanterns are all about, but that would only be if the Green Lanterns visited Xandar, because Xandar is a world mind. It's like one planet full of people. Guy Gardner has access to the entire Owen library, which they police like all of the, galaxy or universe, however you look at it, 3,600 sectors of space, which in each sector there are hundreds of habitable planets. Like the Green Lantern Corps, every power you've been ascribing, every conversation point with the Nova Corps was done first by the Green Lantern Corps and done better and on a larger scale by the Green Lantern Corps.
Okay. All right. I feel like there was so much more coming, but great. We'll see if the world mind stays on the table or if it doesn't ring true after these messages. All right, let's jump into the third and final round. Joe, 3 minutes on the clock for point number 3, starting now.
So we've already established that Guy Gardner never gives up. I'm going to address the elephant in the room, the Batman one punch. We all know that happened. That's a defining moment of his character as a literary creature. Yeah, he got sucker punched by Bruce Wayne during a Justice League meeting. And it knocked him out. But you know what happened? He woke up with a second personality and was an even better Green Lantern during his second personality phase. Sure, he was a nicer guy. Like he wasn't some, repugnant meathead who wanted to take Ice out to, porn shops on their first date. He was a sweet dude, but he was a better Green Lantern. He was more responsible with the energy, and he got caught off guard by Bruce Wayne, by Batman, one of the greatest tacticians ever. I don't see that being a flaw in his character. I see that being a moment of growth for him, which they have bounced off of, and he has addressed over the years. Speaking of growth, he has grown in style. He looks very dapper these days, but one thing that I can't go without not talking about is his look. His look is unmatched. He's got a bowl cut. At first you go the Three Stooges, but no, it's really it's inspired by Ernie the Batlin Boy, which was his superhero. His favorite superhero as a kid was General Glory, and General Glory's sidekick, think Captain America, think Bucky, was Ernie the Batlin Boy, and he wore that bowl cut. And Guy Gardner was so enamored and so like, I want to be just like these patriotic heroes, that he wore that haircut well into his 40s. And he doesn't shy from it. He wears a vest. Are there any other Green Lanterns out there in a vest? No, they're all out there in skin tight leotards, like flaunting all their abs. And guys like, I run a bar. Oh yeah, by the way, he also runs a successful chain of Warriors bars that are both intergalactic. They're both on Oa and on Earth. He runs a bar. He's a beer drinker. He's going to have a little bit of a punch. He's going to be a little stocky. So he wears a vest to make it look good. He's got a little weight belt going on, and he's got moon boots that on any other character would look stupid. They would. The genius of his design, this is the Joe Staton redesign. The genius of his design is that it works between the moon boots. He's got big cuffs on his wrists. He's got the vest. They all pop out at the right places. And then
30 seconds remaining.
Cap it with the little bowl cut. He is his own man in every single way that he can be while being a member of an intergalactic corps. Meanwhile, Nova just houses all the thousands and millions of dead Xandarians that he's been unable to save over the years. That's the argument. Thank you.
All right, Ray, 3 minutes on the clock for your third and final point, starting now.
I guess I didn't realize it was who would win Fashion Week as opposed to who would win the battle that we are here to discuss today. Joe, I look forward to the 100-0 fan vote that I'm about to receive. I will say right now I'm going to end strong because as great as Nova's been up to this point, Nova did let a lot of people down. You're right. But it wasn't because of necessarily like getting beat in a battle by somebody like Guy Gardner. No. It was because, bad things can happen galactically. You can't control everything when you're just one man. So he ended up getting 100% of the Nova Force put into him, creating Nova Prime. And he got the entire shebang of force put into him, making him this cosmic-like powerful entity. He tore through spaceships like Captain Marvel did in Endgame. He did my favorite, you know this if you know me. He fell from space, landed on Earth, and survived. It's my biggest thing. If I ever rep a character who did it, I'm going to mention it sometime during the show. The big thing about Guy Gardner, we'll get to some more feats in a moment here, is that he's weak. His personality is great, but it's also his greatest weakness. He is blinded by rage, and he can be thrown off his game and made mad. And look at the Batman situation. He got mad. He got intense. He took his ring off. He got sucker punched. He saw the ceiling. That's how Guy Gardner works in reality. If Nova could just get under his skin, annoy him a little bit, not go away as fast as Guy would like, and hang in there, Guy Gardner's going to get real mad. And what does the Green Lantern ring need? Willpower and focus. And if Green Lantern starts losing his crap and starts just like getting frustrated, getting mad, which we know he will do if things start not going well, losing his focus basically will short out the ring itself and mess up with any of his constructs that he have, leaving himself open for a crucial moment that Nova can take advantage of, which is, of course, how he's going to win this battle. Meanwhile, Nova shielded a blast from Galactus that was 3 star systems large. He took out a giant robot by putting a finger gun to his head and then blowing him out with an explosive concussive blast. This is a guy who landed on a planet that Galactus had just, arrived at and said, I'm about to start setting up shop to destroy your planet, and was able to evacuate the planet in just a few hours. These are amazing things that Nova has been able to do because he's just on a cosmic level, whereas Guy Gardner is losing a bar fight to a guy with no powers, I'll just say. Look, this is a guy who was able to withstand the cosmic power of Silver Surfer with his grav power. Silver Surfer tried to slam into him and spear him. Gravity reversed, took him down. Biggest wins here. Lobotomized Ego, the living planet, with his bare hands. He did a Mortal Kombat fatality to a nihilist, literally put his hand down his throat and ripped out his guts through his mouth. Sorry, kids, but that's what happened. He also has big wins over the Sphinx, Venom, Ultron, and my man himself, the purple guy, Grimace. No, Thanos. He beat Thanos in a battle. At the end of the day, I haven't heard a clear path to victory. I haven't heard a way that Joe thinks Green Lantern will defeat Nova. but I've given it to you myself. Vote for me.
All right, Joe, if there was ever a time to lay out a path to victory, you have 60 seconds
Well,
for your counterpoint starting now.
well, listen, I want to once again thank Ray for laying that path out for victory for myself. You, in your scenario, you said Guy Gardner would get full of anger and rage and lose his control over Green Lantern. You're absolutely right. And guess what you forgot Guy Gardner also is? A Red Lantern who has rage. He would stand up, vomit Red Lantern blood all over Rich Rider and make Rich Rider once again quit and go home and become Kid Nova. Or maybe he'd make Rich Rider go and grow that sweet mullet that he rocked in the 90s. He would become the angriest Red Lantern of all time and absolutely mop the floor with Richard Rider. He would, what Red Lanterns do is they take the rage of people who have been oppressed or wronged, and they bring that rage to light in their victims. Imagine the millions of people that Rich Rider's responsible for having been killed and didn't protect, all coming up through that world mind. It would shut his unworthy human mind down in a hot second, and you'd have a rabid Guy Gardner dripping with blood over Rich Rider. Thank you and good night.
All right, and as always, Ray has not had counterpoints throughout the show, but he does get the final word. Take it away, Ray.
Absolutely. Look, Guy Gardner is a phenomenal personality as a character, and Green Lanterns can do some amazing things with their constructs. I don't think any of that's really in a debate. But this is where I think it has to end, because all Guy Gardner has are those constructs if he's going to use the green. Now, which ring is he going to have right now? I would say you probably want to pick one at the end of the day. Or is he just walking around like Tom Brady with 7 different rings on his fingers, and just showing them off whenever he can? I just have to ask that question. Yeah, Joe, do you want to answer that for me?
Yeah. The Red Lantern becomes part of your blood. It never leaves you. So it's actually in him at all times. He's suppressing the red rage at all times. So as that green, let's just say that he'd be able to knock the green will out of him or whatever, that rage would bubble up. So
much like Tom Brady has. Tom Brady is the heart of a champion at all times. No, I'm going to keep going right now because you're making too much sense. Now, the other things we're going to talk about here is Guy Gardner loses fights all the time. You mentioned the worst one, the Batman fight, which showed every one of his character flaws. But lest we forget when Doomsday showed up on the planet and absolutely ragdolled his face to a curb repeatedly. Pretty rough. No, your time's up, Joe. I'm not letting you talk anymore because you did too good last time. He did get beat up by Parallax as well. He got beat up by Hal Jordan. What are we doing here? Look, at the end of the day, Nova's got his poop together. He's a cosmic level entity. Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, Red Rage, friend of mine, whatever the heck we're going to call him. He has a great willpower, but he has too many personality flaws. And I don't think his power level can achieve the level that Nova's can achieve. If we go height on height, I just think that the Nova Prime abilities are higher than the Lantern Corps, the Lanterns of the universe, the Lanterns, the International House of Lanterns, whatever we're calling the whole thing. I have to believe Nova's a cut above, and he's able to keep his personality in check. That's what I want to say.
All right, well done, gentlemen. Thank you for this debate. There's a lot going on here from the World Mind and the Nova Prime and the Lantern Corps and the Red Lantern Blood Rage and all of that. And much like our 2 heroes today, I'm going to need a little space to think this through, and I will be right back with my decision. All right, gentlemen, well done. Great battle. This was fun. We definitely learned a lot today, from history and hairstyles to fashion and smart home assistants. Is this match a one-punch success? I don't think so. Joe took us and Guy through a rainbow of rings to make Thanos jealous, and the powers that come with them. From the Lantern Corps to the Honor Guard, Guy Gardner possesses immense willpower, enough to give the green bird to the Nova Force. But as Ray says, all it takes to turn the tide red, which might be a different podcast, is for Nova to get under his skin, which clearly isn't something Ray can do to Joe, who was cool as a cucumber. Ray's got a laundry list of wins for Nova with Sphinx and Venom, Thanos and Ego, and Joe's got a laundry list of, well, things Guy is wearing, weird flex, but Joe also questioned the world mind and if it's applicable. As Ray said, Can you have Master Chief without Cortana? Tony Stark without Jarvis? Howard the Duck without his cigar? One of these days, that joke is going to land. As Tom Brady once said, you want to know which ring is my favorite? The next one. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he also said, anyone who can withstand a blast from Galactus and beat Silver Surfer has my vote. Come at me, bro. It's a space joke. Tom Brady very, very famously, a lot of space jokes. Look, I don't think it's going to be up to, no, I do think it's going to be up to the viewing audience to decide for themselves. But for me, Nova and Ray takes this battle.
There you go.
But again,
I got to be honest. When I took this job, I thought we were kind of looking at the substance of the man and how they'd fare in a battle. But that's okay. That's okay. I'll Google harder next time.
Well, I'll tell you, Joe. I think it is. I think it is all about the substance of the characters and who would win in the battle, and that's why I bring stats, I bring facts, and I bring paths to victory like no one other on the airwaves anywhere is capable of, and that's why I am, of course, the who would win master at the end of the day. Now, we don't know how the people are going to vote on this. To be fair,
that is just my opinion. We'll see what the people say.
You were telling a very compelling story, and I think that had you had a couple of more points to flesh it out even further, this would have been a completely different mosaic to look at.
Have you ever read Mosaic, the Green Lantern series? It's amazing.
I have not.
No. All right, are we going to just go into it right now? Do we have time for that? No. Probably not. But Joe, thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to tell people they can find you online?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, Ray. Congratulations. I hand you the victory, my friend. Thank you, Sam, for moderating such a hard, tremendously fought battle. I do think it would be an amazing battle. I'm shocked you didn't bring up the yellow weakness. Nova Corps is literally yellow. How did that not come up in your Google search?
I'm going to tell you right now. I have battled against Green Lantern characters left, right, and center for a long time now. And the yellow weakness that existed at the beginning of the Green Lantern's legacy was
technically sort of isn't there anymore. Yeah.
It was discarded so quickly, and not recently, like a while ago. Excuse me. It took a long time to get there, but it has not. It's been there for a long time since they decided. And so I found that putting a lot of time into the yellow weakness, I'll just go inside.
It's one of those, I'll be honest, it's one of those charming things. Yeah, it's one of those charming things that work like in comic books, and it doesn't really work when you think about real world, because on a comic page, it's kind of like a comic character that in the comic they can erase you, so you get to draw the person like with half their body erased, right? In real life, that's horrific. And and like wouldn't function, but on a comic page. So I agree. Yeah, I agree. It was a long time coming to get rid of it.
It's a losing argument in a who would win style battle, honestly.
Thank you so much for having me. If you're a fan at all of my tomfoolery and my long-winded ways of getting to points, you can find me on the Joe and Joe podcast every week. Been doing this for like 10 years. Talk about G.I. Joe. We watch all kinds of G.I. Joe cartoons, read G.I. Joe comic books, and we break everything down in excruciating detail. So come find me at Joe and Joe Pod on socials.
And by the time this episode drops, I believe my episode with you may have actually I think like November. When is my episode coming out with you? I've got to check that.
Yeah, the episode recorded with you. I'm planning for 2030.
Excellent.
Yes,
so get ready. Just prepare for that.
Can't wait.
Prepare for 2030. Yes.
Countdown to Ray on Joe podcast. Now, one thing I do want to point out for the people at home, and this is very exciting news for me, Joe Slepsky has taken me up on my Die Hard challenge. Joe wants to come back in December at Christmas time. We haven't figured out the nuts and bolts of the battle just yet, but right now, tentatively speaking, Joe wants to take on the Die Hard challenge as a Christmas episode, and I am here for it. We're going to figure this out. We don't even know who's on which side yet, but this is the thing that's going to happen.
As the man who left a votive candle memorial at the Fox Tower in honor of all the fallen heroes of Nakatomi, as that guy, I can't wait to represent that battle.
That's right.
fantastic.
Huge fan of Die Hard, so this is going to be a real interesting one. And it doesn't matter which side he's on, because he's going to know the pros and cons of both sides walking in the door. So it's going to be an uphill battle.
Awesome. Ray, any last words for today's battle?
No, I mean, obviously, I want you to get on. I want you to vote. I want to obviously win this, and I want to win this big. I want to have basically every single vote. If you go at patreon.com/who-would-win-masters and don't vote for Joe and don't vote for me, I'm not saying we're going to raise the ban hammer right away, but I am going to, I'm going to start looking sideways at our members list. Yeah.
Good Lord. We can't afford to lose them. Anyway, we'll be back in a week with a wrap-up episode, breaking down your votes, going over your comments, reacting to your 5-star reviews, and anything you leave on the Discord. Discord? I don't know how that word works. Anyway, if you haven't, go join us on Patreon, patreon.com/who-would-win-masters. That's where the official poll lives and where your votes count. And if you think you've got what it takes to step into the challenger's chair, record a 1-minute video demo, send it to whowouldwinmasters@gmail.com, and we might see you across from Ray in a future episode. For Who Would Win Masters, this is Sam Proof. Stay strong.